So, time for some Q&A. Thank you so much for all of your questions. I can't get to all of them, but I'm going to get to as many as I can. So the first one is, I would like to know what an average day is like for uncustomary. So obviously every day changes. I am a night owl. Right now it is 3:45 in the morning. So I definitely stay up late, which means that I wake up late. So I wake up usually not earlier than 11 unless I have work or an appointment scheduled. So usually wake up around noon. I will drink a red Monster energy drink because I do not like coffee or tea. I put on a dress and a flower crown. I check my email. If I have work at the flower shop, I will go there. Or I will decide what thing I'm going to do that day. So that might be spending all day writing, or maybe I'm going to go to this city and I'm going to drive around and I'm going to look for something specific, like when I do the, Rainbow Baltimore and I look for colorful doors all day. Maybe it'll just be a day where I'm running errands the entire time. In the evening, I tend to hang out with friends. Usually I'll hang out with Laura. If Joe's not working or if Maura's available, I'll hang out with them. Sometimes I just put on my pajamas early and I'll watch TV while I work on a project like knitting or street art or just writing lists or on my blog or cleaning or whatever. Okay, so that's pretty much a normal day. And then I'll end up doing more work and stuff into the night. I would love for my natural circadian rhythm to be in tune with the world's and everyone else stay up till 4 a.m. and wake up at noon or 1, but that's not how the world operates, so I have to adjust. Why is the word feminist important to you? I'm a feminist myself, but I see a lot of people arguing that the word is too aggressive, so I'd love to see you talk about that. To me, the word feminist simply means that you believe women should have the same rights as men. So to say you're not a feminist means that you believe otherwise. Being a feminist does not mean that you hate men, and it doesn't mean that you think that women are superior. It means that you think everyone, regardless of their gender identity, should be treated equally. And that goes for the hiring and paying process for jobs, who pays for meals on dates, the clothing that's available for purchase, and the rules and laws and norms associated with the clothing that's socially acceptable for people to wear, all the way down to things like reproductive rights. So it's all about just equality for everyone regardless of gender. That's what feminism means to me. Activism is a huge thing to me. Protests are really important to me. I really can't explain to you the feeling that I got and still have when I think about it marching the Women's March in DC this past January. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on my wall up there. It says Viva la Vulva still. I have not taken that down. It's pretty important. I've just started dressing to flatter my shape. After years of wearing baggy clothes to hide my size, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. How do I feel more comfortable? So first of all, I personally kind of hate the word flattering. I definitely think that there are silhouettes that I look better in, and so does everyone. And I know that I do tend to shy away from buying types of clothes that I look a certain way in, like rompers. Like, that's just never going to look good on me. But overall, if there's something that I really love that doesn't totally flatter me or my shape, I'm still going to buy it and wear it because I think that's a huge part of self-love and body positivity. Just saying F your beauty standards and wearing what you want even if it doesn't look good. That said, to be fair, that's kind of like next level thinking. So, like, right now, what we're talking about is moving from hiding in our clothes to wearing more form fitting clothing, not necessarily flattering. So, my advice to you is to spend every day time with yourself naked, especially with the parts of your body that you're uncomfortable with. To wear outfits out that have the possibility to layer and also be naked with the parts of your body that you're uncomfortable with. So, for example, if your shoulders are things that you're not comfortable with, then you would wear like a tank top out, and you'd also bring a sweater or a cardigan or whatever, and you'd wear the tank top until your anxiety kicked in, and then you would be able to put the sweater on top and be like, okay, now my shoulders are covered, I feel better. And then when you felt like you got the courage back up, you would take the cardigan back off. And basically, it's like this exposure exercise where you're recognizing, like, okay, like, even though I do have this anxiety about how my shoulders look and how things are going to be in public when my shoulders are exposed, nothing bad is actually happening when they are exposed in public. So it's kind of just being able to sit with your anxiety about this irrational fear that you have about your body and realizing that nothing bad is actually going to happen as a result of you sharing that part of your body with the world. And then just generally starting to do things that make you feel more sexy. And that means something different to everyone. It could be wearing a specific type of clothing or a specific kind of makeup. Maybe it's doing a boudoir shoot. Maybe it's taking a burlesque class or masturbating or having sex more. I have a blog post on this and I will link it below. But also, you're never going to love your body until you love yourself. So you have to start working on building your self-esteem from the ground up. And I do have a new free e-course on self-esteem, and then also the body positivity e-course. So check both of those out. I will link everything below. And I think those tools will really help you with this specific issue. What is your opinion on drugs and drug regulation? So, just off the bat, I am pretty liberal with everything political. I have no problem with responsible recreational drug use. I just don't. I think also that people are going to use drugs if they want to use drugs. And I think that if we were to regulate some, not all of them, but if we were to do some, that it could potentially make them safer for the users and the dealers by regulating the contents and the protocol, and also educating the public in the process and taxing them so that we could gain more money for the community. Yeah, so that's kind of where I stand. I am pro pot legalization and decriminalization. I live in Baltimore, the heroin capital of the world, so I am very aware of the very severe issues that go along with drug addiction, and I know people who have drug addiction, but I still think that it is very possible for people to utilize drugs in a recreational way while being responsible. Did therapy work out for you? I'm currently following cognitive-based therapy, and it's one of the hardest things I've done. I have had all sorts of therapy. So I've had the kind of therapy when I was in high school where the social worker who was not a licensed psychologist or anything, just like ate her lunch while I talked to her, and then like totally went back on her word and told my parents things that she said she wouldn't do. I've had psychiatrists that have told me that my blood pressure is already shockingly low, but we're gonna give you a medication that it is gonna make it even lower. I've had just really terrible experiences with therapists. I've also had really good experiences with therapists. My best experience was actually with my cognitive behavioral therapist. He was a PhD, and he worked specifically with anxiety-based disorders for CBT. He had specific backgrounds with OCD, and it really shined through. He knew exactly what he was talking about. He gave me homework lessons that I had to work through every week, and they were the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. It was 6 months of intensive CBT. It was very, very, very hard. I cried, I sweat, I had panic attacks, I collapsed, it was a mess. And it was doing things that seem so trivial and mundane. Doing things like walking around a table 30 times would literally make me pass out. So things that basically were irrational fears as part of my obsessions and compulsions that I had to expose my anxiety to and sit there with my anxiety until eventually my anxiety didn't necessarily immediately subside, but I got more comfortable with sitting with that anxiety. And over time, I realized that nothing bad was going to happen. Kind of like we were talking about with, going out into the world and wearing something that seems uncomfortable with your body. It's all exposure therapy. It's a tactic that sucks and is really exhausting, and mentally taxing, but it really, 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 really works, if you're willing to put the time into it. CBT changed my life. It cleared up so much mental room in my brain that I was able to start a blog and quit my job and start doing this. So I attribute CBT to all of that. Do you have any ideas on how I can make a stranger's day better without being too creepy? So there's a lot of ways you can do random acts of kindness as a fellow stranger, aka anonymously, so you don't have to worry about lingering around and feeling creepy. Like, for example, you can pay for someone's drink or meal in a drive-through line and then just drive away. And by the time that they have gotten their stuff, you're gone. You can leave a gift inside of a book at a bookstore that won't be found for weeks, probably. There's so many different ways that you can be very sleuthy about stuff, and people will still really reap the rewards of your kindness. I will link 103 ways to practice random acts of kindness, and then also places to leave guerrilla art in the links below for you to check out further. How do you love your body? I am heavy and flabby, and wish I could erase the brainwashing about what is normal. So I have an entire unit of what redefining beauty is in my body positivity e-course. If you are wanting to fall in love with your body and practice body positivity, I strongly recommend signing up for the e-course. Honestly, like, heavy and flabby are adjectives, just like fat are, and all we have to do is unlearn these things that we were taught and realize that they're just descriptors. And it's okay to be heavy and flabby, just the same way that it's okay to be tall or tan. So there's a lot of processes that you have to go through. It's not something that I can really answer in a quick Q&A video, but it's something that I can definitely help you with in the aid of a course or life coaching, for sure. It's definitely doable. How do you deal with a mother who is always critical and never says anything positive to you? I'm in my 50s and it's always been this way. Can you tell I have mother issues? I want her approval, but I'm sure I'll never get it, and it hurts. I'll go anywhere with her, even if it's not my thing, but she never does something I want to do, even if she doesn't like it. Well, I've had a complicated relationship with my mother since I can remember, so I can definitely relate to this. My advice to you is simple and difficult. You don't need her approval. You don't owe her anything. Yes, she raised you. Yes, she's still there for you 50 years later. But that doesn't mean that you are required to constantly go extra out of your way for her. You don't need to get her to approve of your lifestyle, of your choices, and whatever else, because she's never going to. Never. Once you accept that she's never going to, you'll learn to free yourself from the chains that you've tied yourself down to, unfortunately, and allow to live yourself this life just for you. I promise you that just because someone is related to you, it doesn't mean that you owe them anything. I know that's a really hard thing to wrap your mind around because we're taught so differently. But you have to live your life for yourself and not anyone else. And that includes the person that brought you into this world. Release yourself from her guilt, her traps, and her never-ending criticism. You owe it to yourself. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any more questions, please feel free to email them to me. I definitely have more that I need to answer. So next Q&A video, maybe 2 months from now or so. Definitely had fun answering these for you guys. And in general, I can always, pop on the Uncustomary Babes group and answer stuff for you. That is if you are an official Uncustomary member. If you're not, make sure you hop onto uncustomary.org/membership and get in there. It's only $5. It's the best deal on the internet. All right, I will see you later.